Welcome back to Proof or Potion, where we dig into human studies to decide whether a health trend has real proof, is pure potion, or something in between.
Today's topic is flaxseed and fatty liver disease. So, can eating flaxseed really help shrink liver fat?
We'll talk about how many people have fatty liver now, why it's a huge public health problem, and then break down the flaxseed study in detail.
But let's start with the big picture. Fatty liver is everywhere right now.
Yes, and there are different types. The older term for what we're talking about in this study was NAFLD, non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. It means fat in the liver not caused by heavy drinking, because many people with fatty liver also have metabolic diseases like obesity, insulin resistance, or diabetes. In 2020, experts proposed a change to call it MAFLD with an M, as a metabolic dysfunction-associated fatty liver disease.
So, MAFLD is more inclusive. It requires evidence of liver fat and metabolic dysfunction. But lately, there's even a newer term, MASLD.
You keep these track.
Metabolic dysfunction associated steatotic liver disease. Buff. These are new terms, are just a reclassification to move away from the whole non-alcoholic language.
So yes, many doctors now prefer MAFLD or MASLD to better reflect these root causes. But many studies, including our flaxseed ones, still use NAFLD because that was probably the accepted term when the trial was planned. But just to clear that up.
Yeah. Let's talk numbers. So how common is fatty liver?
A large meta-analysis in 2023 estimated that about 30% of adults around the world have NAFLD.
Wow.
It's a huge number. That's globally. So another 2022 review suggests the prevalence is about 32% globally, with rates higher in men and women, about 40% versus 26%.
Wow. That means that hundreds of millions of people worldwide carry excess fat in their livers, and the liver is just silently suffering.
In the US alone, estimates suggest 80 to 100 million people may have NAFLD. That's from the American Liver Foundation.
So why is this such a big problem? And it's because fatty liver can progress. It can go from simple fat to inflammation to fibrosis, which is scarring, all the way to cirrhosis or even liver cancer.
And liver disease isn't the only risk. People with fatty liver have higher risk of diabetes, heart disease, kidney disease, and even premature death. You don't usually feel great either, as fatty liver doesn't function as well, and it can impact daily things like your hormone metabolism, your digestion, and your sleep.
Plus, the economic burden, of course, is enormous. Medical costs of lost productivity, hospitalizations, liver transplants.
Now let's talk about flaxseed. We've all seen flaxseed sprinkled on smoothies, oatmeal, I love it that way, and those superfood muffins. But can spoonfuls of seeds really change your liver?
That's what we're going to find out today, right?
So, Morgan, when you hear flaxseed, what do you think of?
I think of it being stuck in my teeth, honestly. But I also think of omega-3s, right? And soluble fiber, phytoestrogens, antioxidants, and that really kind of nutty taste.
Yeah, it makes you feel super healthy. I keep mine ground in the freezer, so I think cold and earthy. I also think about their common uses like balancing hormones, improving skin, helping your gut, and now apparently your liver too.
Awesome. So flaxseed clearly has a lot going for it, right? So these researchers thought maybe flaxseed could lighten the liver's fat load as well.
All right, let's get into the details. The study took place in China, published in January 2025 in the journal Food and Function.
They enrolled 54 adults who had mild to moderate fatty liver, 27 in a control group and 27 in the flaxseed group. Out of those, 50 total finished the study. Participants were men and women aged 20 to 65, and everyone had been diagnosed with non-alcoholic fatty liver with between 5 and 25% of fat on MRI and didn't have advanced liver scarring or other serious diseases.
The flaxseed group received 30 grams a day of flaxseed powder in water before lunch or dinner, plus health education, while the control group received only health education. The health education included NAFLD manuals, oil limiting bottles, and weekly educational content.
This was what's called an open label randomized controlled trial. So yes, it was randomized, but both participants and researchers were blinded to group assignments, but people knew whether they were eating flaxseed or not, obviously.
They said it was difficult to find a comparable placebo in smell, taste, and texture, which makes sense when you're talking about people consuming specific foods. I know I would be able to tell if it was a chia seed powder or sunflower seed powder. Those could also have similar health mechanisms. So a control group with no treatment and no placebo group kind of makes sense here.
For sure. Assessments were conducted at baseline and then at 12 weeks, including questionnaires, which included things like demographics, health info, a 3-day food recall. They also measured physical measurements of height, weight, BMI, waist to hip ratio, total body fat composition, visceral body fat mass, and skeletal muscle mass. Lab tests for fats, blood sugar, and liver function, MRIs. They checked for liver fat. They did fecal samples to get gut microbiota.
They were really comprehensive with the data in this study. I love it. Dietary intake was also carefully tracked via 3-day, 24-hour food recall guided by professional nutritionists using food models and verified for accuracy. Nutrient analysis was done using a nutrition calculator from the Chinese CDC.
Compliance and safety were monitored throughout the study with revisits every 10 days and flaxseed distributed monthly. So nobody ran out, right? No one dropped out because of the side effects. So that's a big plus for safety.
And their main question was, does flaxseed actually reduce liver fat?
To measure the liver fat, they went beyond just basic ultrasound, which is sometimes used as a starting point. They used MRI PDF, which stands for proton density fat fraction. It's basically a super sensitive MRI that can measure tiny changes in liver fat percentage. The same MRI physician performed all of the examinations on the participants. They looked at 9 different areas in the liver, away from the edges, and averaged their fat percentages.
You said they also tracked total body fat percentage and visceral fat, that deep belly fat that wraps around the organs.
Yeah, for sure. So we've got a lot to talk about here, right? From our time for the results. Okay, for the fun part, and honestly, they were kind of jaw dropping.
Yes, I'm excited. First up, the liver fat, the main goal. After just 12 weeks, the flaxseed group's average liver fat, measured by MRI PDFF, dropped by 5.28 percentage points. To put that in perspective, if someone started with 15% fat in their liver, it dropped to around 10% after 12 weeks. That's a real measurable difference.
Wow. And for participants who had more severe liver fat at baseline, those between 10 and 25%, the improvement was even bigger, a drop of 8.87 percentage points. Wow.
The control group, who didn't eat flaxseed, only dropped about 1.23 percentage points on average, which wasn't statistically significant.
That means that the flaxseed group's improvement was not random. It was actually the real deal.
Yes. Now let's talk about body composition. What happened to total and visceral fat?
Okay, so people in the flaxseed group significantly lost an average of 6.4% body fat compared to just 1.3 in the control group, and also an average of 28.9 square centimeters of visceral fat. That's that deep belly fat that's linked to metabolic problems, right? The control group lost about 11.3% total body fat, which was significant between the control and flaxseed groups at 12 weeks.
Okay, this is all very exciting. A body fat reduction of 6.5%. They were starting at an average of around 38% in the flaxseed group, which is high, but that brought them down to an average of 31.6%. Even though weight and BMI didn't change significantly, I would personally eat flax seeds just for that type of body fat reduction effect. And let's talk about the visceral fat. Visceral fat reduction is a big deal because it's strongly connected to insulin resistance, systemic inflammation, and overall liver disease risk. It can be some of the hardest fat to budge, and we're seeing some serious movement here. That's really exciting.
Even though the study did not emphasize total weight loss, the body composition changes suggest fat redistribution. So less liver fat, less abdominal fat.
Exactly.
Cool.
Next up, the blood tests.
So flaxseed modestly improved several key markers, including triglycerides, HDL, cholesterol, or what's traditionally been known as the good cholesterol. Apolipoprotein A1, a protein that helps HDL clear fats from the bloodstream. Most of these improved in the control group as well, so it could have been more related to the health and nutrition education that all of the groups received than it was actually the flaxseed specifically.
Yeah. In both groups, that's basically a trifecta of better lipid metabolism, lower bad fats, higher good fats, and improved transport, even though we can't pin it down to the flaxseed.
Love that. On the liver function side, the flaxseed group had lower AST and bilirubin levels, total and direct.
ALT, another liver enzyme, didn't change much in 12 weeks, but the overall pattern showed the liver was under less stress.
Which is good news. Okay, now this part is fascinating. The gut microbiome changes.
After 12 weeks of flaxseed, participants had more Bacteroidetes and Actinobacteria and fewer Firmicutes. These are a bunch of different types of bacteria.
That means that the ratio of Firmicutes to Bacteroidetes, we don't know how to say that, often linked to obesity and inflammation, went down.
Yeah, that ratio. They did an extra analysis too and found that these microbial shifts were actually correlated with some specific clinical improvements that they saw. For example, people who had more bifidobacterium after the flax seeds also tended to have the lower liver enzymes and triglycerides and higher HDL.
This suggests that the flax seeds might be working through the gut liver axis, which is improving microbial balance, which then affects metabolism and inflammation in the liver.
Yep. And remember, flaxseed is rich in soluble fiber and lignans that feed beneficial gut bacteria, so that connection totally makes sense.
All right, so let's summarize really quick. So, liver fat dropped dramatically on MRI, especially in people who started with higher fat levels. Body fat percentage and visceral fat mass decreased. Triglycerides went down. HDL and ApoA1 went up. Liver enzymes and bilirubin improved. So many good things.
Yeah.
Gut microbiota shifted in a beneficial direction.
And all of that happened in just 3 months with one simple food based intervention. No drugs, no extreme diet.
There are some caveats, though, of course, right? The study was relatively small, we say that every time, only 50 people completed the study, and it wasn't blinded. So participants knew they were in the flaxseed group, which can subtly affect results.
But the measurements they used, MRI, PDFF, and the blood tests, are objective. You can't placebo your way into a lower liver fat percentage RRI on an MRI, or can you?
There's always a little bit of placebo effect, right? But definitely not this much. And I tried to visualize and manifest my way into losing fat before, and it did not work very well for me. So, all of this objective data and imaging makes this study especially credible.
It was so well done and well written. I'm really a huge fan of this study. They shared all the data and imaging. Also, they didn't find any safety issues. And so, flaxseed, according to this study, appears to be a low risk, high reward option for people with fatty liver or metabolic issues.
And given how many people have fatty liver, remember 30% plus globally, if flaxseed gives even moderate benefit, it could move the needle in public health.
Truly, yes, especially because it's a food, not a drug. So it's widely accessible, inexpensive, low risk.
Because so many people are asymptomatic, they might never even know that they carry liver fat until damage is advanced, right? A safe nutritional tool is super appealing.
And linking this to the MAFLD concept, we're treating not just liver fat, but the metabolic dysregulation behind it. Flaxseed may act on the gut, lipids, inflammation, all of which tie into this overall picture of metabolic health.
It would be really great to see longer trials and comparison with standard treatments or combined therapies, I think, moving forward.
Another question, does flaxseed benefit people with lean NAFLD or MAFLD, those without obesity? The microbiome effects might differ.
Totally. And after hearing all the evidence, the strong MRI PDFF results, the improvements in fat, biomarkers, microbiome, I say we actually have some solid proof on this one.
I agree. Proof. It's a powerful food based tool, but it's not a guarantee, especially for advanced damage like fibrosis or cirrhosis that can be irreversible in some cases. But for the other cases, for sure.
Okay, so what do you all think? Have you tried flaxseed? Have you seen any changes in your blood work? Let us know, share your story, send comments, ask questions. We love hearing from you.
Thanks for tuning in to Proof or Potion. If you got any value from this episode, please also like, share, and subscribe if you haven't. You can also check out our other episodes for more valuable evidence-based health information.
We're so thankful for you, our listeners. Thank you for being here. Stay curious, don't accept the claims blindly, and we'll be back with the next deep dive.
Bye for now.